今日は、3日間ありました、今回のポジティブ心理学カンファレンス、そしてワークショップ2日間、いよいよ最後の日を迎えています。皆さんにちょっと臨場感が伝わるといいんですが、今午前中のですねセッションを終えて本当に、気持ちも高揚し、そして、このポジティブ心理学の、持っている可能性とパワフルさに、胸を震えている、そんなところです。そしてその時に、こっちの横にいらっしゃる、セリグマン博士とこれからですね少し質問等させていただきながら、博士いらっしゃるの2回目なんですけれども、なぜこのパーマ、を広めたり、パーマこの25ジャパンですね、このことにご協力くださっているのか、このあたりのことを含めて伺っていきたいと思っております。Okay. So, again, thank you so much for coming to Japan. So I know you came to Japan, a little bit earlier in your career, but from my understanding, this is our second time to hold a big conference, including a workshop. One of the great things for all of us, including myself, of course, is you who started this study, the field, came to Japan physically and give us the great lecture as well as give us the great insight. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
The several questions I'd like to ask is simply why you kindly have decided to come over to Japan again. So do you see any difference between the first time and the second time? Any thoughts or any insights?
Well, the very first time I was in Japan was almost 25 years ago. And it was just when I was beginning to think about positive psychology. And in fact, I had meetings with the Nichiren Buddhists, and they talked to me about the possibility of an active Buddhism that builds well-being. And that in many ways was my first inspiration for positive psychology. And it was just at that time that I had become president of the American Psychological Association. And in that period, it became obvious to me that psychology had been about suffering and the relief of suffering. And I had spent my life working on relieving mental illness. But for the first time, I saw clearly after my first trip to Japan that there was something much more than relieving suffering we could do. We could build PERMA, we could build well-being. And so I became, as president of the American Psychological Association, interested in PERMA. Positive emotion, engagement, good relationships, meaning and accomplishment. And these are things over and above the alleviation of suffering. These are different. And I came to Japan then last year and found great enthusiasm for this notion. I've been all over the world talking about this, but the enthusiasm in Japan was very inspiring to me. And here's the way I think about it, and the main reason I'm back again. Japan has had peace and prosperity for almost 60 years now. And we can ask the question, why do we care about peace and prosperity? Is this an end in itself, or is peace and prosperity a means to something greater? And I believe we are entering an epoch in which peace and prosperity may well last. And then the question is, what do we do with that? And I think the answer is to build well-being. So I think Japan is on the threshold of an epoch of well-being. And I think it will be an example to the world.
Wow. So I realized again that 25 years ago, when you came to Japan, some insights around Japan was impacting to you to start thinking about the positive psychology. That is a grateful thing for us as Japanese. And then this time you also feel the enthusiasm from us.
So the first time was just an idea, and it was quite a Japanese idea, but there was no enthusiasm. And then I worked for 20 years on the idea, and now I come back and there's real enthusiasm about doing it. So I look forward to what the Japanese people will do with PERMA.
Wow, that's a great thing to hear that. And then, I personally feel that this is a very important moment for Japan as a nation. So because, as one perspective, we have a peace and we have prosperity. But in reality, I also have the big question, is it really true? So every morning I see the cars and then the trains with, packed of the people and then, rush hour. Why do we need to do this every morning? And then I have a question, why people don't say no to that, but just follow what they are expected to do. So the true meaning of peace and prosperity, what it is. So this is also the same feeling I have. So I am dreaming of the situation that this notion PERMA will bring the practical change to Japan society, and I believe so.
Yes, so let me give you a metaphor for the subways and the trains, and it has to do with one's work and how one thinks about one's job. So in positive psychology, when we talk about work, there are three different kinds of work. The first kind of work was the kind that Marx was upset by, and those are jobs in which people do it for money, and when the money stops, they stop doing it. Now, in a highly consumerist society, like Japan, the United States, and China has become, that many people have jobs, and they're doing it for money, and that's why they're packed in to the subway. So the second kind of work is career. In career, we do it for promotion. And when promotions stop, we stop doing it and we lose interest. And the third kind is calling.
Calling, yeah.
Calling is very much a PERMA-related notion, is work that we do for its own sake, and not for the money and not for promotion, and we keep doing it even if we didn't do money or promotion. Now, let me give you the metaphor. Last month I was in Dubai with about 30 ministers of labor, and the question was job creation. We need to create more jobs. And I looked around the table at all these ministers of labor. I said, none of you have a job. You all have callings. And I don't think we should be talking about job creation in consumerist societies, but about calling creation. And one of them said, well, we're very high level. We're ministers of labor. Of course, we can have a calling, but people who pack the subways and the trains, they don't have a calling. And I said, that's not quite right. So I worked with an orderly in a hospital. This was a middle-aged man whose job was to clean the room and to empty bedpans. And you might think he had a job and he did it for money. But when he and I talked about that, he said what he did, in addition to emptying bedpans and cleaning the room, was to collect photographs and pictures and put them on the walls of the patients so that when they woke up, they would see something beautiful. And he said, I'm part of the healthcare system. So he had a calling. And it turns out we find in menial jobs that about 50% of the people have jobs. They're doing it for money. Another 50% have transformed their work into callings. So I think we need to do calling creation. And that's very much a PERMA notion. We still may get packed into the subways, but now we're going to do something we love rather than to do a job.
Yeah, I really like the term of calling creation. This is exactly what we need, especially for Japan society, is my view. Because I am very proud of saying I love my job. I love my job. I'm doing the human resources, but I'm not just doing the human resources. I'm creating the opportunity for all the people to unleash their strength and then be the self, and then this is something I love.
Well, let me say that you and I both have something which is the fourth stage. So the third stage is calling. That's something we do because we love it.
Okay.
And we would do it even if we weren't paid. The fourth stage is mission.
Okay.
And that's a calling in which you're trying to spread it to the whole world. So you and I both have callings, but even more importantly, we have a mission.
Okay. Wow. So PERMA
It's a mission.
Yes, and then this is something that we can set as a kind of purpose or goal.
And it's beyond
beyond
ourselves. It's not because we love PERMA. It's because we want it for the world. So many people in positive psychology have missions in addition to calling, and I think that's the highest form of work.
Wow, and then you have a lot of experiences and also a lot of contact with all over the world, the countries all over the world. Do you see any specific difference with Japan?
Well, I think Japan may actually do it. So I think what's so important now about PERMA 25 and PERMA 51 is let's actually measure it. And let's try and do different things. So Japan has a long history of perseverance and goal-directedness and perfectionism. So Japan is a model for the world to measure this, to do interventions, to see that it increases and to spread those interventions. So I'm inspired by the enthusiasm in Japan, which I think combines with Japanese national character to make PERMA 25 possible. And that's why I modified the notion to be Delta PERMA Sigma, which is Delta change in PERMA. PERMA is the outcome, and Sigma is one standard deviation better. So I believe by 2025, your mission in Japan will have raised PERMA by one standard deviation. And that will be something that's never happened in the world before and will be the beginning of an epoch.
Wow, I can't express how much, excitement I have inside myself this moment. But I know that you support us, you support this initiative, and this is such a great thing. And then we would like to continue more. So based on what we learned from you this time as well, is measuring is very important. Measurement and also intervention. So we should do both, but a measurement is at this moment the first thing maybe we can do.
The very first thing.
Yes, very first thing.
Good measurement. Yep.
So this is something we really would like to focus on to move ahead. So we will continue doing so, and then anything that we can get your advice toward the measurement?
Well, measurement is routinely done by questionnaire, but that for me is not good enough. Because if I ask you, Yuka, how happy are you right now? That's a very obtrusive question. But if I look at what you say and what you write, and if I look at smiling, I can infer much more solidly how much life satisfaction you actually have. So the main new technology is to take the social media, Twitter, Facebook, and count the words and phrases that are PERMA positive and PERMA negative and look over time for changes. So I think you want to combine a big data approach with a questionnaire approach and eventually just replace questionnaires with big data. It's big data is less expensive, it's not obtrusive, it's not reactive, it doesn't violate privacy, and you can do all of Japan, not small samples. You can do the whole nation.
Yeah. So this time we also learned a lot from our Professor Anger. He is a specialist of computer science. Also, we learned a lot about how to do with SNS, Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc.
Will you be collaborating with Professor Unger?
Yeah, we'd love to. We haven't talked much about the details, but he also said he is very supportive for Japan, and he's also interested in Japan as a country.
Yes.
One of the things that I learned from him a lot is cultural context is very important, that we need to pay attention.
Yes, interestingly, in many ways, he's my most Japanese colleague. He's perfectionist, he's perseverant, he doesn't give up, so he's also the leading person in the world in the measurement of well-being. So I do hope you work out a collaboration with him.
Yes. And then also we continue the intervention. So by 2025 is another 6 more years, but that should be quick. I know.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years so quick. So we have to, work on it, as soon as possible. But thank you so much. Having you every time give us a lot of excitement. And then I am hoping that you continuously support us going forward as well. And then, do you have an intention to come over to Japan again in case we call you?
And I think my role is to inspire. And I see that there's a cadre of people who are inspired. So at a point at which you think you need more inspiration, then I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
But I think you've started it, and I don't really think you need me.
We need you. We need you. So in the really end of this talk, can I have some message or inspiration to Japanese audience?
Well, I think for me the most important thing for Japan is a country that has such a rich spiritual tradition and has peace and prosperity at a time at which I think we've done about as much as we can to relieve suffering.
Okay.
So the question is, what is the next great human goal? What is peace and prosperity for? And I think it's for human well-being. And Japan can be the example to the world.
Okay, so we are playing a very important role for the world.
Yes.
And I'm very proud of hearing about that. So thank you so much. And then please keep in touch, and then come over again and then give us inspiration.
Good. Thank you very much for having me back, Yuka.
Thank you very much.